Hi guys, I'm going to show you how to replace an iPhone 4 LCD. So the first thing we want to do is just to take out the SIM card. Simply just put your prong in there and take it out. Next thing, we want to undo the two bottom screws on the phone. And to get the back off, just slide it forwards and then it should just come off. Next thing we want to do is take the battery out. So we'll just undo the battery screw here. And then we'll get our little plastic pry tool, which you should have got with your new LCD, and we'll just pry that up like that. Now you'll get this little antenna clip here that'll come off under the battery, so just put that to one side for now. Now to get the battery out, sometimes that can be very difficult. This one's very adhesived down, so the plastic pull tag there won't allow me to get it off. So what I'm going to actually use is a pry tool, which I'm going to get under the battery and slowly pry it up. Now you don't want to do this on the other side because you can damage the board, and you don't want to be too rough. So I'm just going to very gently do it until I get some of the adhesive off. Once the battery is out, you can put the little battery tag, stick it back down on some of the adhesive down there just so it's out of your way. Next thing we want to undo is these 5 screws here. So remember to keep these in order. I'm going to remember the particular way that I undo them, and I'm going to lay them out in that pattern so I don't forget which screw goes where, because all iPhone screws are different. Next thing we want to do is just take off the metal clip. That should just simply pop out. You don't want to go forcing it, it'll just come out. Put that to one side. Next thing we'll do is take out the vibrate motor. From here we've got a flat head. We'll unscrew that and pop it to the side. And now we're going to take off this part. Remember, all these screws are different, so do try and keep them in order. I lay the screws out and then I'll get the metal plate and I'll lay it next to it in the order that they came off. From here we're going to take off the power ribbon cable. So just get your little pry tool and pop it up like that. We can also do the antenna cable while we're here as well. Just be very gentle with this one because it's very sensitive, it can break. Just peel this up. Now this will be quite adhesive down as well, so be very gently when peeling this cable up. You do not want to tear it. That one is relatively easy to do, but I've done them when they're very hard as well. Now also just unclip all these ribbon cables. They're the two LCD ones. These ones here are the buttons and so forth, so just be very gentle when unclipping them. We'll take the camera out. Next thing we'll do is take out the speaker and antenna. So just undo the 2 screws. And it should just clip out. This one will be a little bit tighter, but again, do not force anything. It will just, once it clips, it'll just come out quite easily. From here we want to peel up the water sticker. This tells you if your phone's been wet or not. It'll actually dye red all the way through if it's been wet. But there is a screw under here we want to take out to get the motherboard out. You can pop that back on later if you wish to when you put it back together. From here the motherboard should just simply come out quite easily. You don't want to force this out again, it should just slide out as easy as that. Now if it doesn't, just double check everything, you've got all the screws undone, everything like that. From here we've got 10 screws, we've got 3 screws here, and we've got a screw in each corner, and of course 3 on the other side and in the corner as well. Now what I do with these ones, I don't undo these, I just loosen them off. I do maybe 1 or 2 revolutions around just to loosen it. I find you can take them off. That's what I originally used to do, but I found they're really difficult to get back on. So if you just loosen them off, you don't need to put them back on. It's fine to do that. Next, take out the 4 corner screws. Now from here, the screen's ready to come out. So I'm going to use a metal pry tool to get this screen out. However, plastic is recommended. The reason I use metal is I quite like to do it. I'm very gentle with it. But I do recommend using plastic if it is your first time doing a screen. But you've got to be very careful. It'll be adhesive down, so you just kind of want to get around all the edges and kind of slowly pry it up till it comes off. And just slowly pull the screen out. And don't rush this part, it's the majority of it's, just slowly do it. You don't need to be 100 miles an hour. 2 things here to take mindful of is the proximity sensor. It's got this little rubber washer around it, as you can see, the little square one. Now if that's not there, double check to see if it's on the screen, because you don't want to go losing that. What we're going to do is peel back the adhesive tape here. So this is got all glass and stuff over it. I will be replacing this. Sometimes you won't need to replace these adhesives, sometimes you will. My top one's fine, for instance. I'm not going to replace this on this video, just the bottom one. Just of course make sure the phone's all cleaned up and nicely ready to go. Now, we'll grab the old LCD that came out of it. Now, a lot of the screens you buy don't come with the earpiece grill, so we're actually going to take it off the old screen and pop it onto the phone itself. Now, some screens will come with it, some don't. If they don't, we can use the old one, so it's not too bad. A little trick I learned was to actually just put this directly onto the phone and not onto the replacement screen. Found it easier if you actually just popped it down in this little piece here. This is my other adhesive, which you can see is actually still very sticky. So I'm going to be using that. I'm not going to bother replacing it, but I will replace the bottom adhesive. The way to do this is just put it on the end of a screwdriver or a blade in this case, so you get the most stability you can, and you just bring it up close and get it stuck down. Once it is in place, just make sure you push all corners down, make sure it's all nice and stuck on, it's not just sitting there. Do the same with the other side. Next thing we want to do is get the new LCD. Make sure you peel off the bottom plastic bit. It's very important you don't forget to do that. Always do it first as soon as you pull it out of the pack, because it is an easy thing to forget. Now peel off the other side of the adhesive tape. And the new LCD is ready to get put back in. And you want to thread the cables through here. You've got to be very careful you don't go bending these cables too much. They are very sensitive, and you can ruin the screen by bending them too much. There's a bit of a tricky process. You have to wiggle back and forth to get them into place. Make sure the cables don't crink in between the phone and the screen, and just slowly do it. Sometimes I put a little pry tool down here just to push the cables through a little bit, but don't go, forcing them. Now once that's slightly in, you want to make sure that the little feet on the screen are going through on the flush with the phone, and the screw and the washer are sitting on the outside, so that the screen's. I'll try and show you here so you can see it. But just make sure the feet are on the closest side to the phone, and you've got the screw and the washer on the outside. If it's that'll be a good fit. You don't want to make sure the little prongs are through the screw and the washer in between those. Just double check on either side. If not, take it out. Slowly put it back in till it gets right. Make sure the phone is getting stuck to the adhesive. Tape this down there. Best way to do is just to put it on the floor and just push it down slightly until it sticks. Next step is we'll put in the corner screws at the front and the top of the phone. This is where I always like to start, just because you want to make sure that you get a good seal between the screen and the phone. What I do is, you can't really see me in the video, but I'm actually squeezing the top of the screen onto the phone, so it's getting the best connection possible, and I'm going to screw this up. Do the same with the other side. Now you can tighten up these screws. Now if you did happen to take them out, it can be very difficult to pop them back in. I'll let you figure out how to do that. Just a little trick I picked up. I pop in the two bottom corner screws. These ones are the easiest ones to do. Now just check to make sure the home button is clicking, as well as there's a good seal around the phone and the screen. There's no big gaps or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is put the motherboard back in. Now make sure the rubber is sitting on the motherboard. Now this motherboard is not a tricky thing to put back in. It's not a hard thing to do, so if you're finding it not going in, just make sure everything's all okay. It should just click straight into place. Now do not want to use too much force here. Now you'll see here I'll just slightly clip it in, and she'll just go straight into place like that. I'm going to get that middle screw and just put that one in there to secure the board in. Now we're going to put in the speaker assembly as well as the antenna. You want to make sure that the little metal prongs teeth here go underneath the metal. They don't want to sit on top, because they'll bend. They need to kind of go in there, so you will need to push them in. So when you get that in, you get the speaker in, just make sure those tags are pushed in. I'm going to use my blade here just to slowly push them in. You can pop this in before you pop the motherboard in. I always like to do it afterwards, but it's up to you. And just tack it down with a screw. You got to hold it, keep holding it down while you do this, otherwise it'll just pop back up. So if you can just pop the screw in whilst holding it. Then of course do the other side as well. And you can also clip down that antenna cable as well. Just be very gentle with it. You don't want to go damaging it. It's a very sensitive little plug, and alright, once that's down, you pop down the power flex. So I suggest clipping it down first. It will just clip in quite easily. Again, don't force it, and then just stick it back down. That's the best way I've found to do it. Put the metal plate over as well. Now if you're confused on what screws go where, if you've mixed it up, the bigger screw goes down in towards the middle of the phone, and then you've got the smaller screw up at the top of the phone there. Pop the vibrate motor in. Again with the screws, the big long one goes towards more the center of the phone, and the smaller one goes on the very outside. Pop the camera back in. Clip it down. Now you want to clip down the rest of these cables. Now don't want to go forcing these on, they will just slip on there really easily. And with the screen cables, the LCD, slowly bend them across. Don't go bending them too much. Again, just slowly bring them across, get them used to their new position, clip them down, clip the other one over it. Make sure all the ribbon cables are securely clipped down. You see one clipped off there. Just make sure they are pushed down and they're nice and firm. Don't go pushing them really hard though. Next thing we'll do is we'll get our little screw that can get another screw into it. It's our one flathead screw, and we'll pop that back in to where it belongs, next to the vibrate motor. We'll get our little metal bracket. Now again, this will just clip down again nice and simply. No need to over force it, it'll just clip in how it's supposed to. Now I hope you remember the order of the screws to put them back in. Now undo the plastic tag. Now we want to get the little antenna protector there, pop him in first, and then we'll get the battery, we'll fit him over the top and plug it in. Just clip it down. Screw the battery back in. Now for the fun bit, let's test the new screen. Wonderful. Alright, make sure it all works. The phone, just check everything, check the camera, check all the buttons work, the volume buttons, vibrate button, make sure that the proximity sensor works. So make a call, put the phone up to your ear and make sure the screen goes dark. If it doesn't, then there's going to be a bit of an issue with the proximity sensor with the screen. That can be too much light getting into the screen. But besides that, screw it all back together, pop the SIM card back in and you're good to go. Thank you very much for watching.